Half a year ago, my physician sat across from me, looked at my blood work, and told me I had the vitals of someone in their 50s. I'm 87. He asked what I was doing, and after I told him, he went completely quiet, grabbed his pen, and said he needed to write it down. I live alone in a modest house up in Vermont. I don't have an assisted living facility. I don't have a daily aide checking in on me to make sure I'm upright. Last summer, a 42-year-old tech worker visiting from California wanted to take a walk with me. He considers himself in decent shape. 20 minutes in, he was gasping for air by the side of the road, looking at me like I'd performed a magic trick. I wasn't even breathing hard. Much of the physical decline we associate with aging is actually a biological reaction to how we spend the first 12 minutes of every single morning. 5 years ago, I was a very different man. Every morning, I could barely haul my own body out of bed. My knees throbbed. My back would lock up so stiff that just hobbling to the bathroom felt like walking over broken glass. It got bad enough that my daughter started dropping hints about touring senior living communities. She meant well, but I was terrified of losing my autonomy. Surrendering to that path was unacceptable. I knew I had to search for a way to change how my body transitioned from sleep into wakefulness. Almost everyone approaches waking up the exact same way. The morning alarm goes off, and immediately they reach for a phone, frantically scrolling through their emails and headlines. In half a minute, their mind rockets from complete stillness into absolute chaos. I do the exact opposite. For the first 10 minutes after my eyes open, I stay flat on my back, arms at my sides. I do not move. I just pull air in through my nose for 5 seconds and release it through my mouth for 5 seconds. This chart shows what is happening inside you. During deep sleep, your nervous system settles into a restorative state. You can see this low, steady wave. Your pulse slows, your blood pressure drops, and your body uses that quiet time to repair itself. But the instant you jerk awake and start moving, you destroy that baseline. Your body interprets that sudden movement as an unfolding emergency. Cortisol surges into your bloodstream, triggering a massive stress response. If you force that spike morning after morning, year after year, you are essentially training your nervous system to live on permanent high alert. This is why so many people feel drained before they've even eaten breakfast. A friend of mine, a tough 73-year-old former Marine named Raymond, thought this sounded ridiculous. I challenged him to try my 10-minute breathing rule. On the third day, he called me up. His blood pressure had dropped 15 points. Controlling this transition acts as a mechanical lever for regulating systemic stress throughout the body. The second rule takes over the moment my feet reach the floor. Instead of standing up, I sit on the edge of the mattress for exactly 2 minutes. This schematic shows the circulatory mechanics at play. After 8 hours lying horizontally in bed, gravity has caused most of your blood to pool in your torso. Your legs are practically drained of volume. If you stand up too fast, all that blood rapidly drops into your legs. Your brain gets shortchanged on oxygen. That sudden starvation causes the lightheadedness that leads to falls. Last winter, an 81-year-old woman in my town named Eleanor leapt out of bed to catch a ringing phone. Her brain lost oxygen, she lost her footing, and she fractured her hip. She has been confined to a care facility ever since. To prevent this, I spend my 2 minutes sitting on the edge of the bed, flexing my feet. I point my toes forward, then draw them back, doing 10 deliberate repetitions per foot. This animation shows why those flexes are so crucial. The movement wakes up the calf muscles, which act like mechanical pumps. They physically force the pooled blood back up the veins, priming the engine before you ever put weight on your feet. Preventing a fall in old age is a matter of managing your blood pressure and oxygen flow before you ever take a single step forward. Whenever my daughter stops by early and catches me doing my sitting routine, she rolls her eyes and asks why I'm just staring at the wall. She doesn't grasp the biology of what I'm doing. If you get your morning wrong, your body pays a severe tax. You will spend the remainder of the day physically exhausted, constantly compensating for a shocked and oxygen-deprived system. But if you take the time to prime your body correctly, the reward is absolute. A properly tuned system will easily outwalk and outperform bodies that are decades younger. Take those 10 minutes to breathe and those 2 minutes to pump your blood. Prioritize the slow 12-minute routine to protect your physical autonomy. Mastering the first 12 minutes of every day is how you actively secure your physical independence for the long term. Most men my age spend their mornings sorting pillboxes and scheduling joint consultations. I start mine with a few quiet habits that keep me out of the doctor's office. We often view physical breakdown as the unavoidable toll of getting older. In reality, much of that deterioration is a direct result of how we treat our bodies in the first 15 minutes after waking up. When an alarm goes off, the instinct is to throw your legs over the edge of the mattress and jolt into motion. This creates a mechanical shock to a system that is cold, compressed, and structurally vulnerable. I use a zero-cost 10-minute morning discipline to protect my joints and organs before they are forced to carry my weight. Physical autonomy in late life is built through deliberate maintenance performed every single morning. That maintenance begins while I'm still in bed. People frequently blame a bad mattress for their morning back pain, but the real culprit is internal. This diagram shows the human spine after 8 hours of sleep. Overnight, your vertebral discs lose fluid and flatten out. By the time you wake up, your spine is actually about half an inch shorter than it was the night before. Standing up immediately while these discs are dehydrated causes the vertebrae to grind against one another. This bone-on-bone friction is the mechanical source of morning stiffness. To fix this, I lie back down with 2 pillows tucked under my knees. This simple elevation tilts the pelvis and removes the downward pressure from the lower back. I stay here for exactly 7 minutes. This gives the discs time to act like sponges, reabsorbing fluid and expanding to their full height, so they can properly cushion the spine before I stand. My brother-in-law takes the opposite approach. He jumps out of bed and immediately tries to touch his toes. He thinks he's stretching, but he's actually crushing discs that haven't had a chance to hydrate. He spends a fortune on chiropractors and pain medication to treat a failure that is entirely preventable. The morning routine continues in the bathroom. Most of us have spent half a century following an autopilot habit that silently wears down our internal plumbing. Specifically, I'm talking about the standard posture of leaning forward while sitting on the toilet. As the diagram shows, leaning forward places the heavy weight of the torso directly onto the bladder and prostate. Decades of this continuous pressure can lead to chronic incontinence, forcing men to plan their entire lives around the proximity of a restroom. The solution is to sit perfectly upright with a straight spine. This posture lines the organs up correctly, immediately removing the weight from the bladder and prostate. Consistent postural discipline is the reason I can still drive clear across 3 states without stopping. In the kitchen, many people make the mistake of dumping caffeine or food into a digestive system that hasn't been properly awakened. Before I eat, I spend 3 minutes performing a slow, clockwise massage around my navel, starting with light pressure and gradually pressing deeper. This stimulates peristalsis, the wave-like muscular contractions your intestines need to move food. It provides a physical cue to the gut that it's time to start working. The massage also draws fresh blood flow to the digestive organs and helps manually release gas that built up overnight. I showed this to a friend named Arthur, who was taking 4 different medications for his digestive issues. 6 months later, his doctor was able to take him off 3 of them because his system was finally moving on its own. Manually priming the digestive engine helps the body function as intended, reducing the need for corrective interventions to jumpstart a stalled system. This entire daily investment is simple: 7 minutes resting the spine, upright posture in the bathroom, and a 3-minute abdominal massage. It requires no gym equipment, no specialists, and no prescriptions. We are often pressured to rush through our mornings, but giving in to that pressure leads to a cycle of grinding joints, strained organs, and digestive discomfort. Physical freedom is the result of stepping away from the rush to show a few minutes of patience to your own anatomy. Spending 10 minutes on bodily respect each morning is a practical way to preserve the physical autonomy you need to stay independent. To put things in perspective, I am 87 years old. Now, by all accounts, considering my family history, where heart disease literally runs straight through my family line and both my parents passed in the early 70s, I really should be struggling right now. But instead, my doctor recently told me I might soon drop the only 2 blood pressure medications I currently take simply by dropping another 5 pounds. And this really brilliantly illustrates the stark difference between my quiet, capable life and the tragic norm for so many folks my age. Think about it. My daily reality is being 87 years old, traveling, driving myself around, and living entirely on my own terms. Compare that to the average reality, where people are drowning in 12 different prescriptions, essentially running a collapsed kitchen pharmacy, dragging around with a cane, and just stuck in a recliner all day. You know, that difference isn't luck. It's not some genetic lottery. It is the daily discipline I practice every single morning. Section 1, the 5-minute cold shock. Okay, so this brings us to the 6th step in my morning routine, which leans heavily into immune science. And honestly, my neighbors are fairly convinced I've completely lost my mind. Every single morning, whether it's pouring rain or the dead of winter, I walk right out my back door and stand barefoot on my freezing porch for exactly 5 minutes to prime this old engine. So why exactly do I put myself through this? Well, when my bare feet meet that freezing ground, it activates something called brown fat. This is a highly beneficial type of body fat that actually generates warmth and burns energy when exposed to cold temperatures. Simultaneously, my blood vessels violently tighten up and then release. That gives my heart and my entire cardiovascular system a real practical workout without me having to even run a single step. But the immune science goes even deeper than that. My body also flushes with norepinephrine. Now, this is a crucial hormone released during cold exposure that acts almost like a sponge, just soaking up and drastically lowering inflammation. Plus, it leaves my mind as steady as a rock and incredibly focused. Honestly, these 5 minutes do way more for my immune system than any expensive pill or trendy supplement ever could. This daily shock builds some absolutely incredible real-world resilience. While my neighbors hide indoors, keeping their thermostats locked at a cozy 78 degrees and bundling up in 3 layers, they never give their bodies a chance to adapt to shifts in temperature. As a result, when winter hits, they catch every passing bug. Meanwhile, I haven't had a single cold in 4 years, not one. Because I put my body to the test every morning, my immune system stays remarkably sharp. Moving on to Section 2, discipline starts with order. So the absolutely crucial point here is what happens the very second I step back inside from that freezing cold air. I make my bed immediately, no delay. Now you might be thinking, well, that's pretty trivial, but this tiny rigid discipline proves to my mind that my standard will not slip today. Making your bed is a profound message to yourself that order matters, perfectly paving the way for bigger daily disciplines. It sets a baseline standard. I don't skip my exercises or eat garbage later in the day simply because my surroundings aren't garbage. Let's compare my space to my 73-year-old neighbor, Dorothy. Her apartment, well, it looks a bit like an exploded storage unit. She can never find anything, and she is constantly on edge and deeply stressed out. I told her to just start by making her bed, but she brushed it off, saying it was too trivial to matter. 6 months later, she's still living in the exact same chaos. Her situation proves that a cluttered, chaotic home virtually guarantees a cluttered, highly stressed mind. Mental discipline spills over into every aspect of your life, for sure. Which brings us to Section 3, the connected longevity system. You see, these aren't just random, disconnected chores I do to pass the time. They are part of a very specific, deliberate routine that takes exactly 47 minutes. Let's look at how this builds. It starts by waking up slowly with 10 minutes of stillness and slow breathing to ease the nervous system. Then, 2 minutes of foot flexing on the edge of the bed to let gravity redistribute blood flow. After that, 7 minutes of spinal decompression with pillows under the knees. Then, sitting perfectly upright in the bathroom to protect the pelvic floor. Followed by a 3-minute abdominal massage to wake up digestion. Then, we hit our famous 5-minute barefoot cold exposure. And finally, making the bed immediately. This isn't a menu to just pick and choose from. It is a highly connected longevity system. These habits work exactly like a row of dominoes. The stillness calms the nervous system, which makes that edge of bed pause work so much better. The improved circulation supports the spinal decompression. Good posture sets up the abdominal massage to work more effectively. That massage readies the body for the shock of the cold, and the cold builds the sheer mental grit needed to maintain discipline all day long. Pull one single piece out, and the whole thing loses power. I know this for a fact because, well, I foolishly tried cheating the system once. One week, I decided to skip the cold exposure just to save a measly 5 minutes. Within 48 hours, I became noticeably short-tempered, and my concentration completely slipped. By 72 hours, I developed a scratchy throat and caught my first mild cold in years. It totally proves you absolutely cannot cheat the system. The very moment I brought the cold shock back, everything settled back down. Finally, Section 4, your choice for tomorrow. Researchers who study folks hitting that 100-year mark know a secret. A steady, unbroken structure beats good genetics every single time. It's all about patterns repeated so faithfully that your body simply has no choice but to adapt. My body knows exactly what's coming each morning. It isn't panicking, it isn't guessing, it isn't under strain. It is just ready. And a body that is completely ready is a body that holds up against the test of time. I am sharing this explicit with you today because I truly, deeply want you to have a better, more capable life. But you have to make a choice. Are you willing to look a little strange today to avoid being stuck on a recliner 20 years from now? You have to decide right now if you will embrace the cold truth, build your daily discipline, or just let the years quietly fade away. So what's it going to be? Will you do the work, or will you just watch the clock run out?